And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Thank you for joining us for the aviation portion of this broadcast. First, we're going to be covering visibility and ceiling levels across the state. As a quick reminder, IFR is Instrument Flight Rules, and that's denoted by the red color. And that basically means that it's more challenging for pilots to fly because of lower visibility and lower ceilings. So pilots should be cautious in those areas when their flight plans today. So you can see across much of the Bering, we are expecting low visibilities for your Friday morning. That's due to multiple low pressure systems in the area. We also along the North Arctic coast are expecting lower visibilities and lower ceilings due to a high pressure in place that's going to be supporting widespread fog and stratus. As we go further east into the Panhandle, we're also have concerns about dissipating front that's going to be lingering there in a weak system, but it's going to be strong enough to keep low ceilings and low visibilities for that area. For your Friday afternoon, we're going to be seeing much of the same. Again, pretty good conditions if you're going to be going along the coast, but you might encounter periodic MVFR conditions. Same up north, the fog will periodically mix out, so be aware of stratus up there, but it'll generally be better by the afternoon hours. And again, we're expecting some mixing out across much of the Panhandle as well for your Friday afternoon. For your Saturday morning, again, socked in across much of the Bering. Some of that stratus is going to be pushing on shore up north. And again, we're going to have some weak low pressure systems in the Bering Sea. But again, fairly good conditions, but also MVFR and coast and along some of the mountains in South Central. Saturday afternoon, again, conditions are going to improve with that diurnal mixing and sea breezes along the coast, but still be a little cautious along the Seward Peninsula. You might run into some MVFR conditions. Again, widespread IFR conditions across much of the Bering Sea. Let's take a look at your past conditions. For Anaktuvuk Pass, we're expecting MVFR conditions for Friday. Same for Adigan Pass, MVFR conditions throughout your whole entire Friday. Lake Clark, we're going to start out with IFR conditions and improve to MVFR for the afternoon hours, and that's the same for Merrill Pass. For Rainy Pass, MVFR conditions are expected throughout much of your day. For Windy Pass, we're expecting IFR conditions, which will improve by MVFR conditions by the afternoon. Isabel Pass will start out with MVFR conditions, improving to VFR conditions by your afternoon hours. Following from Antasta Pass, we're expecting MVFR conditions that will improve by VFR for your Friday afternoon. For Tahina Pass, we'll start out as IFR conditions and improve to MVFR by your afternoon hours. Portage Pass will remain in MVFR conditions for all of your Friday with some of that lingering coastal stratus. Same thing for Chilkoot and White Passes. They're going to be seeing that stratus we talked about in the Panhandle. Let's take a look at your freezing levels for your Friday morning. So you can see we have our ridge entrenched across the interior. So we're looking at freezing levels about 10,000 feet into the north coast, and with 8,000 feet. Again, you have to go to get those cooler temperatures. You have to go out into the Bering where those low pressure systems are lowered at about 6,000 feet across much of Gulf of Alaska. So looking for your icing conditions, again, we're mostly concerned with that low pressure system. We have some areas of considerable moderate across the central eastern Aleutian Islands and across the Alaska Peninsula, and isolated moderate around that. Again, where we're expecting a few afternoon showers, we do have some areas of isolated moderate in some of your interior areas and along the eastern border of Alaska. And again, above 10,000 feet, we're expected isolated moderate in parts of the Panhandle as well due to that dissipating system. Let's take a look at your jet stream. We have, again, like I was saying, multiple low pressure systems. Our greatest jet is sitting right across the central and western Aleutians, up to 115 knots. So again, fairly decent jet for this time of year. The other jet is 95 knots associated with this low pressure system near Juneau we talked about. And we have rich high pressure sitting up along the North Arctic coast. As we go lower in elevation, 9,000 feet, again, we have that low. The jet is much weaker. We only have about 35 knots at 9,000 feet. Similar story for our low near Juneau. It's about 40 knots, a little stronger at the surface there. Finally, when we get down to 3,000 feet, we have a jet still at about 40 knots across the western and central Aleutians, and basically about 20 knots at 3,000 feet near that Juneau low. Finally, let's take a look at your turbulence risk. Again, it's mostly associated with that low pressure system, considerable moderate out on the western Aleutian and central Aleutian Islands.